Hey, what's up? What's good with you? I am MotoristX and welcome to an edition of Lore Wheel Drive, a series where I talk about niche automotive lore, history, and subjects of the like. Today, I'll be sharing with you a brief history over Alfa Romeo's notorious GTA badge, and later on, we'll take a look at some fascinating examples that have really worn the badge over the years. However, before we dive into any of that though, I'd recommend subscribing to my channel if you'd like to learn more about automotive operations and topics like this in general. I make content for all different types of car enthusiasts, but with this series in particular, this is for all my history buffs, my spec nerds, and my taxonomy masters. Essentially, if you love to classify different cars and really understand what all these different classifications mean and how they're unique from other classifications, Lore Wheel Drive is going to be the series for you. Now, having addressed that, let us dive into the history of Alfa Romeo GTA. So GTA is a badge reserved for Alfa Romeo's highest performing road-going cars. They had more capable and powerful, dedicated sports cars and sports prototypes that they raced in a lot of higher grand touring leagues and sport prototype leagues, but when it came to just touring car racing or just entry-level Italian performance, these GTAs were really the top of the line models of what Alfa Romeo had to offer on that side of cars. The letters themselves stand for Gran Turismo alla Giritta in Italian, which translates to Grand Touring Lightweight in English. But together, these letters really signify Alfa Romeo's dedication towards motorsport and Italian performance. Going back to 1965, this would be the year where Alfa Romeo, paired with their personal tuner, Auto Delta, would create the very first GTA model, the Giulia Sprint GTA. These cars at first glance would just appear like race-ready derivatives of the standard Giulia that was already out, but in reality, they were much more, and they demonstrated this when they were competing in the European Touring Car Championship as well as the Trans Am Series. These little machines were very potent and competitive for their era, and I say this because they were competing, even sometimes out-competing, against cars that either A, had larger displaced engines, and or B, simply had more horsepower. Really throughout all their times racing in these two championships, but more so the European Touring Car Championship, they scored a decent amount of podium finishes, if not outright victories for Alfa Romeo. And when the world started seeing this, Alfa Romeo started to build a solid reputation for themselves within touring car motorsports. Now, skipping ahead into the 2000s, there really hasn't been any other GTA model, but all that would change when Alfa Romeo revived the badge on the 147 and 156 models. These cars, much like the Giulia GTAs of the past, would serve as the competition trims and the most potent and the best of what Alfa Romeo had to offer at the time on their road-going end of things. And what is also neat about these very GTAs too is that they also saw some decent action racing in the very same championship the Giulia GTA started off in, which was the European Touring Car Championship just decades later. These cars lived for a little bit within the 2000s, but ultimately their lifespan wasn't really that long either, just like their predecessor, the Giulia GTA. Now at this point, you're kind of looking at the late 2000s, say about like 2008, 2009. There were supposed to be other GTA models made, like a GTA version of the Mito Hot Hatch that they came out with, and also a GTA version of the 155 that was supposed to debut back in the 90s, but both of those never happened due to financial difficulties Alfa Romeo was experiencing during the 90s and the 2000s, unfortunately. I will say that there has been one singular 155 GTA that has been produced, but that's only been a prototype. It's not a full production model, it's just a one-off. So again, if you're in the year 2010, you've only seen about 3 GTAs. Things stay this way until we get to the 2020s, alright? And it is during this time, right after COVID hits the world, that Alfa Romeo debuts with another GTA model, alright? The fourth GTA model, of course, being the resurrected Giulia GTA. Now, unlike the prior GTAs and a lot of other Alfa Romeo high-performance models, these new Giulia GTAs have yet to race in any sort of formal racing series, but I would say they are tasteful homages to their storied past within motorsports, because you can definitely tell Alfa Romeo designed these things to be track monsters reminiscent to their original GTA models back in the 60s and the 70s. Everything from the aero to the suspension to even, the power upgrades over the standard Giulia, you're looking at a car that is definitely going to be significantly faster on the track compared to a lot of the other cars in its lineup. And it's kind of meant to compete against other track-oriented sports saloons, like the M3 Competition or even the M3 CS. Cars like that are what it goes up against. Now, looking back at the badge overall, Alfa Romeo GTA is a badge that really hasn't seen a lot of its placement on a lot of different cars, but it does hold a very firm story and really puts Alfa Romeo in a fine light when it comes to touring car racing or just even entry-level Italian performance. While we're talking about Alfa Romeo performance badges, there's some others that I do want to bring to your attention so you're not left wondering what the difference is between all these different names from this single Italian manufacturer. First off, you had the GTVs. These stood for Gran Turismo Veloce in Italian, but just simply translated to Fast Grand Touring in English, and as the name implied, they were really just fast Grand Tours. They weren't really agile cars, so to speak, as much as the GTAs were. They were probably faster on the top end of things, but when we're talking about handling and track-oriented performance, they weren't nearly as oriented for that type of stuff as much as the GTAs were. Then you have the cars that are called the Quadrifoglios, which stand for four-leaf clover in Italian. Same philosophy of just having a Grand Tour that still handles decently well, but mostly prioritizes its focus on speed. And nowadays you have all sorts of Quadrifoglios in the form of sedans, coupes, even SUVs at this point. Then the last badge I want to touch base on is Q4. Now, back in the day, this used to stand for Quadrifoglio 4-wheel drive, but now the badge is just used to refer to or designate any Alfa Romeo that has 4-wheel drive, whether they be actual Quadrifoglios or not. So there's a little overview on those three badges: GTV, Quadrifoglio, and Q4. Of course, again, all of them are sporty Alfa Romeos, but they don't nearly evoke the same sort of pedigree and lineage that the GTA cars do when it comes to racing, motorsports, and just raw out performance. So that's the big thing to really understand when you're looking at a lot of these Alfa Romeos and really understanding what makes really a GTA special compared to all of these other cars. Ultimately, I may make another episode just featuring all three of them together and just make a combined, history of Alfa Romeo performance badges, but that won't come for a long time. Anyways, going back to the topic of this lower wheel drive, that's about all you need to know about Alfa Romeo GTA. However, don't go just yet, because in a little bit, we're gonna take a look at a gallery full of these GTA models. There aren't a lot, but these models nonetheless have really helped Alfa Romeo find some success within the realm of touring car racing, as well as the realm of entry-level European performance. Before we dive into the gallery of models though, let me clarify a few things. Number one, cars are going to be named by their year, company model, and trim level. I'm not going to be using any generational codes, chassis codes, or sub-trim level names. Number two, some of the cars in the video might have multiple engine options available. So for the sake of this video and this gallery, I only chose the specs for the option that was either the most popular or the one that had the most information on it. Number three, some of the cars might also have figures that just weren't publicly attainable. So for some of these cars, you'll see that data slots were left empty, indicating that figures just weren't attainable. Number four, few of the specs in this video might not be fully accurate. So for some of my metrics, I just took educated guesses by comparing the car in question to others of its same class and era, and I got my final metrics by basing them off of the metrics of, again, the other cars that are similar to it in class and era. And number five, taking into consideration the previous 4 points, I want you to know that I have done my best to provide you with both accurate and precise information for the cars that are going to be listed in the gallery shortly. Now, having addressed these things about the gallery, and now having given you a brief history to the already short-lived Alfa Romeo GTA badge, let us dive into these Italian racing icons known as GTA.
shine on your love tonight. You touch this child delight, baby. Ooh, I owe you love. To think a man could be all that you are to me, I can't believe the joy you brought to me. I mean to be so free. I mean to be so free. I mean to be so free.
So if you guys liked what you saw, go ahead and leave a like and consider subscribing to see more content like this. If you want to see me do this with another car brand, model, or type, comment down below which brand, model, or type you want to see me cover next. Again, I am MotoristX, and this was an edition of Lore Wheel Drive.